3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, what's up? Happy Thursday. Good morning for the most part. Today I have it's not really a special job, but it's one of those. Let's kind of think about this. Today what I'm going to be doing is using drone deploy to map an area that basically, for the most part, a large part of it burned, but and I'll show you some footage of that I took, during the fire. It was definitely a large structure fire. We had like 10 fire departments that came in, but I do some mapping, or just more visual mapping, not like surveying mapping, with drone deploy. And what I'm getting ready to show you is the basically the map of what we're going to be looking at. So should be some fun. It's a real kind of a quick and dirty thing, but I'll show you basically everything you need to know to get yourself up and going with drone deploy at a simple level. There's a lot of things that this program can do that I don't necessarily tap into, because I'm really in it for the visual aspect. So let's take a look at our computer screen. I'm sorry that I do not have a screen capture program at this point, but here we are in drone deploy, and if you can see my cursor, I'm sorry this is kind of warped. So this is actually a map that was taken December 12th, which I think was the day after the fire. So you can see that the smoke actually is still smoldering, and different things like that. So before, what this looked like was actually this. Well, it didn't show it. Let me see here if I can show you that. That's what it looked like before. So before this part burned, like this section all the way up into here, basically burned. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna drive down there. We're gonna set up somewhere along this road. There's some power lines going right through here. I may actually set up over here, and then it'll fly a path. Now, let me just show you a quick, easy thing about this. If this is your first time using drone deploy, you can either set it up from your phone, which I did it that day. I set it straight up from my phone and just used the coordinates on there and roughly mapped it out. But if you want to do it on the computer, you just hit fly, and then it gives you this grid. Okay. So these green lines are the lines that the drone is going to fly, and each time it flies one of these, it's going to take pictures all the way around. Now it has its own specific instructions on how quick and different things like that. It's all built into the program. It'll basically do that. So the reason that we're taking this is because the person who or the company who owns this needs or kind of wants to know what it looks like afterwards. So that's basically what we're doing. So we have some settings over here. I don't know if you can see that. I apologize, like I said, with this. We're flying at about 200 feet. I just wanted to make sure that I'm clearing all the power lines. I feel like that's a bit high, to be honest, for this project, but anyway, that's basically it. You basically come in here, and if you adjust this, so if I go up to 380 feet, you notice that the green lines get bigger or shorter, and basically the time is going to take a lot less time the higher you go. But the problem is that your resolution, if you can see right there, if I go up to you know, any higher, it's going to say, well, it wants me to go below 200. So, but any higher, it'll say the resolution is, you know, very narrow. So when you're done with that, we basically, you would hit save. I think somewhere in here. It may automatically save it. I already have mine saved. There's advanced settings. You can see that it'll tell you all how long it's going to take, how many images it's going to take, be one battery, blah blah blah. So yeah. So now that you've seen that, we are going to go ahead and pack up the drone, and we're going to head out to the site. So in case anybody wants to know, this is the drone we've been using. I don't know if you guys have seen this before. You have seen this before on my Candleton video if you're watching. So what we have here is the Crystal Sky, but we're not going to use that. We're actually going to use a phone for our image transmission type stuff. We have the DJI remote that comes with the Mavic. This is the Mavic 2 Zoom. And then we got 3 batteries, but we're not going to use that many batteries. This is going to take, I mean, I don't even know if I should say, but it's probably going to take less than 10 minutes to fly this whole thing. Basically, what's going to happen is I'm going to hook this remote up to my phone, and I'll show you that when we get out there, and it'll connect to the drone. It'll take off automatically, fly a certain path. When it's done, it'll come back and land, which I usually land it manually just to make sure there's no issues. And then yeah, that's basically it. So let's go.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon. Try to catch me howling at the moon. Try to catch me howling at the moon. Try to catch me howling at the
Okay, so as you can see, there was all stuff there, and obviously it's still fenced off a little bit, but for the most part, a lot of it's gone. I'm not really sure what they're gonna do with all this, but I'm gonna set this camera here, and then I'll come back and check it once the drone is set up and everything. Try to go through that. Most of the time, I try to set one of these out just so people know that, hey, I'm flying a drone here and different things. So I'm actually take this off right now. All right, so like I said, we have the Mavic 2 Zoom, and the reason I picked the Zoom over the Pro is because having the ability to zoom really helps when you're doing cinematography type stuff. So to set it up, it's pretty easy. I mean, you just fold out these wings. It's really nice how it's compact. I thought there for a minute I may not have had this to you. So we're just going to set that. We're going to go ahead and turn it on. And then we're going to set up. The thing you need to do there should be a cable like supplied with your DJI, whatever you buy. And if not, it may be a good idea to buy one, but it's a USB-C. Well, for me it's USB-C. If you're using an iPhone, it's the iPhone one, but I don't know if they switched over to USB-C or not, because I don't use iPhone. So basically, if you can see that, you just plug in that to the bottom there. I actually rigged this so it would work with Crystal Sky because I really needed it for a project. But there's a little USB plug, and you just do that. The other part you plug right into the bottom of your phone. Okay, now it's very important that you have some sort of cell signal, and if you don't, you have to. It's really interesting. There is a way to download it offline, but I haven't had any success with it. So let me see if I can show you what we're looking at here. So the important thing is that, one, this thing's going to fly automatically, so you kind of need to be aware of where it's at. This building used to be called, Swiss Plywood. So these are my my settings that we had in the computer. I feel like 200 feet is too high, but at the same time, it's like I don't think we really need anything. We may go down like a little bit, maybe to like 170. And this is something you should probably check, but I know that none of these, where I'm at, none of these trees are past 170 feet. They shouldn't be anyway. Okay, so the other thing is we're waiting on this. It says ready to go, so we should be good. So the next step that you do is literally hit this button that says start pre-flight checklist. It's going to actually go into the drone and look at the camera, make sure that everything's working, the controller. I don't know how well you can see this, I apologize. Everything, and then you get this green light basically. So my hands aren't even on the controller at this point, which is bad practice, but I'm just to show you guys what's going on. It's going to start and it's going to fly over to, looks like that point, and it's going to go. So we're going to hit start flight. You see the drone goes up, and it's going to ascend all the way to that 170 feet. You can see it up there maybe. Now if at any time you feel like the drone or something is in danger, there's an aircraft or something like that, you can hit the pause button to pause basically the flight. So that's the height at what it's at. And we should be good from right there. So the drone's going to start making its maneuver, and so my job is to basically watch it and make sure that that it's at a safe distance from everything, that it's not going to bump into anything, that any aircraft that's in the airspace isn't going to affect it or me affect them, different things like that. That's one big thing about flying these automated flights, is that you have control over the drone, but it can be kind of alarming sometimes, because you may have an aircraft come into your airspace. I mean, right now we're flying at 170 feet above ground level, which really isn't that high. A plane shouldn't, well, it's not that they can't be, but most of the time they're not going to be this low. But it's always a good idea to keep an eye out. I do a bigger property, and I definitely have to watch all the time, and to make sure you're not in anybody's airspace. So I'm going to set this down, and I'm going to get to my job. And I'm just going to leave this in the air like that. and I'll try to talk. So right now it's actually over the center of the building. I wish I had a way for you guys to look at this, but it's kind of, should have wore one of those head mounts or something. That would have been good. I'm just going to tilt that back. I'm not sure if it'll work or not. So the other thing is on the phone, you'll see that it shows you where you're at in location to you. So this is where the drone is, and so you know it just turned at that point, and now it's coming back up another row. So that's basically how drone deploy works. And in the meantime, you know, I just basically watch and just make sure that it's not going to hit anything or there's no danger or anything. Basically just kind of be the pilot in a way, or the observer, because I mean it's kind of unfortunate that, you know, we can't fly it manually, but we couldn't fly a straight line, you know, if our life depended on it sometimes. So it's just gonna do its thing. We are about, I'd say we are almost done. It's over about almost on the other side of the building, and most of the time this, you know, drone deploy, you can use it for these types of buildings and stuff. And I mean, you can do all sorts of things from like 3D, you know, with different mappings and types of stuff. There's plenty of things that you can do with this, but the cool thing is that it does it automatically, and the software is extremely helpful. You know, and is it my favorite? I'm not sure, because I haven't tried a whole lot, but you know, it's definitely one of the it's definitely an interesting experience whenever you first get your hands on it. Now, one thing I will say is that I am using my phone for this. I do have my hands on the remote, and I'm keeping it within visual line of sight, you know, as Part 107 people do. So the thing is I actually don't have, there is a visual screen on my phone so I can see what it sees, but since we're in such a small area, it's not that as big of a deal as if we were in a bigger area. But there are times where and unfortunately I still get text messages and everything while I'm doing this, but there is a time where sometimes the phone, and I have a Galaxy S9, and it will crash sometimes, but just keep in mind that you can always reestablish a connection, and it's not going to affect the pictures that it's taking. So once it sends those directions basically to the drone is on its own. Really what you're looking at is just the mapping portion. You can see it's coming back now. If you can see that little black dot up there, I'm not sure how good this camera is for that, but it's now returning home. And like I said, this is a relatively small project, but I'm sorry if you didn't get to see the landing, but sometimes the job is more important than recording the video, and I don't have a second person. Now, for the sake of them, I will probably go ahead and granted, I just ended that flight, and sometimes mid-flight I will switch over into a video mode so I can do the video, but they might want to see a video of everything, what it looks like. So I think I might do that just as kind of a gratitude type deal. They didn't really ask me to do that, but you know, since I'm in the air and I'm out here anyway, I'm gonna do that. So what basically you can see at the end of it, it says process your images into a map. what you do is you're basically going to take the SD card out of the drone. You're going to go back to your computer and you are going to plug it in, and basically that's it. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and set up the oh my goodness, the crystal sky, which is what I like to use with my Mavic 2 zoom. Got some dirt in there, gotta clean out. So the neat thing about this is that, well, so this isn't supposed to work like that. The way that this is that I didn't mod the controller. I just got some screws and just screwed that in to make it fit. I needed it because I needed that HDMI output, and at the time DJI didn't have any of the smart controllers in stock. But so I basically ended up with the Crystal Sky, and I was like, well, you know. Okay, so obviously what we have here is the Swiss Plywood building. This is December 11th, 2019. Obviously you can see that it looks like it's engulfed in flames. Now if you look up at the thermal image, you will notice the biggest pocket is that yellow right there. And then over to that right, that part is basically the firewall. The fire actually just disappeared, but it didn't exactly penetrate, I don't think. If that firewall was just put in, some businesses were wanting to move in there, and some of them had, so I assume they put up that firewall, but don't quote me on that. There you just saw some debris fall. This footage is so long, it's hard to go through the whole thing when you're actually watching it. I mean, I guess I'll just kind of give you a background. This used to be a almost like it was a wood factory for the most part. They would make all sorts of things. My dad worked in it for, I believe, like 13 or 14 years, maybe like 17. I'm not sure. Dad, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. But he understands. He's a teacher now. So anyway, this was a factory for a long time, and then around the recession area, it closed down, and then it kind of became just this building that kind of sat. But recently the Tell City Port Authority decided to start almost renovating new areas and trying to get new business to come in, and I believe the economic development was playing a role in this as well. So this building, we were actually going to have some pretty interesting things. Everybody had some pretty interesting ideas to get this thing up and running. So before I don't want to bore you guys with those statistics or anything, because I honestly don't know them and I don't want to speak for them. But let me just tell you a little bit about shooting this fire. So when I arrived, I set up in the wrong spot. There was debris falling, and it was literally catching the grass on fire. So I moved. So this is just something you learn. I'm on the emergency management, so this is why I'm flying this drone. And I should also tell you that this drone is the property of the county or the emergency management, but it is the Matrice 210 and is equipped with the X5S and a XT thermal camera. I believe it's the 336 version with 9mm or something like that. I'm not sure exactly. I'm only showing you guys a small portion of this because I do want to make a documentary about it. But something to note whenever you are doing this, obviously With incident command, you want to make sure that you're not going to be in anybody's way. Look on the thermal right here. You can see how the water is affecting the fire, and it's almost vaporizing before it even hits. It's pretty crazy how massive this was. The thermal really shows everything when it comes to that. I mean, you can kind of see the devastation and everything that was going on. So I'm flying the Matrice around. For the most part, I tried to do my best to inform the firefighters, the people in command. Hey, this is what you're looking at. This is where the smoke is. This is where that's at. Because it kind of is a big building. And the thing about it is, you don't really see these large structure fires every day. For us, it's pretty. It was pretty crazy. I mean, people from miles around could see it. Now, the other thing about this is that you need to be aware of, and it's just nothing against civilian pilots or anything, but you have to realize that smoke is going very high in the air. And so I was flying at about, I don't think this is 400 feet, but literally, like, I was trying to get my vantage point. 400 feet is our legal limit, unless you have a waiver. But when I was flying, there was actually aircraft that were entering my airspace. And technically, I believe they do have the right-of-way no matter what. I'm not sure how it goes for emergency cases, but regardless, the M210 is equipped with a beacon system to let me know that basically they're around. So it's just one of those things that a plane may see it in the air and they may want to get closer and take a look. There was probably about 3 aircraft in the scope of 2 hours when I was trying to do my job, and it was a little bit alarming that they were flying that close. But nonetheless, I mean, nothing happened or anything. I could seriously worry about helicopters entering the area, but obviously those helicopters would probably be like news or something. But from a drone perspective, that's kind of my concern. So obviously you see now, I cut the footage up pretty quick. The fire actually didn't take 18 minutes I cut this way down. I think I took a total of like 40 or 50 minutes of footage. But basically, the fire moved very quickly in those 2 hours that I was actually on the ground before I had to go somewhere. The fire had spread all the way over here to the right side of the building that you're seeing right now, and then that firewall basically stopped it. So this is what I recorded that day, because for one, it's kind of a historical landmark for us. I mean, it's very, very old building, and the other thing is that it's going to be useful for training or any other type of scenario or stuff, not just for us but maybe for other people. But basically, obviously, from a I fly drones doing cinematography for the most part, or videography, and look at that little rainbow there. That's kind of cool. There are some interesting things that you see in a big fire like this, and it's pretty overwhelming. Like I said in the beginning, we had like 10 fire departments, I think, that came in and helped out in the course of the 2 hours. I think they all ended up showing up. There's the water again. You can kind of see that on the thermal. It's definitely very interesting to see what is going on the thermal side, because the thermal can see through smoke. So there's a lot of times where I can see stuff that maybe the firefighters can't see, obviously, with their own eyes. So it becomes a huge asset in fighting fires if you can deploy it quick enough. Apparently this fire started in a room full of lacquer. Well, over the years it had lacquer, and that's what sparked it so quick, and it just went up really quick. So it's just one of those things. But basically, I'm trying to keep this short as I can because I do want to make a documentary about it. I don't want you to see footage you've already seen, but I have yet to interview the fire departments involved, and it's been over a month at this point. The other interesting thing about doing this is your situational awareness. Obviously, you want to make sure that you're not interfering with any other operations that are going on, especially in something this massive. This is relatively, like, if you think of something like this, and then you think of something like the Twin Towers and what they had to go through. I cannot imagine like an incident command structure. Like, I've watched plenty of documentaries on that type of stuff, but it was handled pretty well here. But it's just, I couldn't imagine going through something like that. And this here was, luckily no one was hurt, at least to my knowledge. But this is what I flew during that day, but the mapping process was done after for the fire marshal, and then I also sent it to the company, and then they had me come out and do another after its cleanup, which I'm about to show you here in a second, after all the footage is uploaded, which I'll show you how to do, I think right now. All right, guys, we are back at the office. I have the drone deploy map pulled up on here, and I'm going to show you how to put that in here in a second. So here's what you do, basically. I'm going to set this up right here. I apologize for the mess, but if you're like me, you don't have time to clean that stuff sometimes. So, got the drone. Also, if you are considering buying a Mavic 2, or if you have one, this case is really nice, except it doesn't fit my Crystal Sky or a smart controller. So those of you who do use like a phone, might be something to look into. SD card is right here. All the photos that were taken during the flight are stored right here. Nothing is actually stored on the phone as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if there's a way to do that or not, but I wouldn't think there would be. So we're just going to lay that down there, grab our handy dandy SD card reader. It's micro SD into SD card. I have an SD card slot that I just plug in right here. All right, and you'll hear a doot-de-doot here in a second. There you did. Okay. Now, normally, so like the bigger project I work on, I usually have about 400 and something pictures, and I usually copy all those for them. Oops, that was the one that was the one. We go into our SD card, whenever it pops up on your folder, depending on what version you're using. You can do this on Mac too. I'm not going to go into that, but it doesn't matter. So I have 2 folders for me. You may have 1, you may have 3, it just depends. Every time I take off, I think it's supposed to start at whatever number it was last on. So I don't know how well you can see my screen right now. It's probably really awful. So anyway, like up here it says 76 images. You see it says 76 images. So I'm going to make sure that, and I know these are the ones that I took because now that says 113. So what's going on here? Did I take more pictures or something? There may be more pictures. I mean, at least. So I'm not sure why it did that, but nonetheless, regardless, It says I have 113 items selected. That's what I'm looking at right there. I was figuring it would be 76 images, but you know what? I think I may have changed it when I took off, so we may have a little bit of a difference. I changed the height. So if we go over to upload, it says no pending uploads. We're gonna hit new upload. And I would strongly advise this to give a name and especially a date. So I'm just gonna put in, Swiss Plywood 1/23/2020. All right, now it says drag and drop photos, which is super easy. We already selected them all over here. I'm literally just gonna click and drag them in. Drone Deploy is gonna do their cool little thing. They're gonna process it. And you can see now, maybe, depending on on this this camera. I really apologize, guys. I will strongly look into getting some sort of screen capture software. It's important that you have like a good internet connection so that you don't have to wait for hours and hours and hours. But all these blue dots are the locations that were taken. So that's basically a square of, they overlap basically. And then what it does is it stitches them together and creates a whole new map. So the unfortunate thing is, you can see over here, if you read that, it'll say, hey, it's gonna take this long to process it. This is nothing. Like that, it'll probably be done within like half an hour, I'd say, probably. They are pretty good about getting it back. It depends on how everybody else is, if they're uploading stuff. But all you do is just go down here and hit upload images. And you have a little bar down here. It says uploaded. It says 0 right now, but it should start popping up real quick. These are coming straight from the SD card, so it may be a little bit slower actually, rather than my hard disk. I'm not sure, but usually it doesn't take long at all. Like usually it'll be about 15 minutes, and I can upload about 400 and something pictures, and it's about 3 gigs worth or something. I don't remember what it is. So anyway, I'm gonna let it do that. You obviously, all right guys, so I just wanted to show you this. All the uploads did finish. You get this screen. 113 files uploaded successfully. Your map is now processing. You'll receive an email when it's ready. So that's basically it. You just wait, and then once it comes back, I'll show you guys what you do, like I said. Alright guys, so here we are back in Drone Deploy. Like I said, it's probably been about, probably about 30 minutes. I've been running around town doing some errands and whatnot. And I got an email. They're done processing the map. Of course, it's probably a computer, but it makes it feel like it's an actual person, which is okay, either way. So this is the email that you get. I'll show you that. I don't think there's anything that I have to worry about. So it says a new map and project Swiss Plywood is ready to be viewed. That gives you basically what it looks like. So that is basically what I took, a picture. It's just a big picture of it. It's not the highest res at this point. Then you get this message, we successfully aligned your map to blah, blah, blah. It's saying from the previous map I did, which was on December 12th, 2019. Your new aligned map is accurate to approximately 5 centimeters compared to the previous map. And the reason it's telling you this is that you should use ground control points because every, after you do this for a year, maybe 5 centimeters adds up, that type of thing. So you can contact them or whatever you need to do. If you wanted to ask more questions about that. I don't use ground control points for the most part. I just don't get into it. So if we go over to the the actual Explore tab on our drone deploy, we're gonna see our new map. So this is what we took today. You can see that's me at the car right there. That's where we took off. And you can zoom in on these things pretty good. Like it's really, if you were working with a team or something, it is a good thing to have to where they could go and zoom in on it. But the problem is sometimes you have to pay more money, obviously, to do that. So this is basically what I will give to the people working on this project. But just to kind of give you a reference, so this is after, and this is December 12th. Okay, so you can still see the smoke and everything. And then it won't let me go back any further, obviously, because I never took it. But that's December 12th, and you can tell that all that land is cleared. The other things, you have some stuff over here. So like your location, I think, like if you click on there, it will get you like a GPS coordinates or something. If you wanted to do that, the problem with that is, I think, I could be wrong, but I think you have to have another account, or someone has to have access to your map to look at it. The other thing that's useful is distance. So if I wanted to draw a line, figure out how far along this is, so I can do that, and it'll say, okay, that's 327.2 feet, and then an elevation profile. You can see it's kind of interesting because, and sometimes I don't really get how to read these because you don't really put in like your ground level type of thing, but so I'm not really sure how. You'd have to talk to a surveyor to actually figure out how accurate these are. But what's interesting is like you start here, and then at this point would obviously be around this area, and then the height of it, and then down again. So it's pretty interesting the way that works. I mean, there's a lot of tools, and Drone Deploy is constantly getting better. Like they've had this volume thing around for a while, and you know, just different things. It'll show your resolution. If you guys have any questions about it, you can try asking me, and I'll try to help. The thing you need to know, like for instance, I'm going to send this off to one of my clients, and I'm going to just hit this export down here, and it gives you a couple options. Now, most of the time, unless you know they know what they're doing with the GeoTIFF, you're not going to use that. There are some people that do, though. I mean, you know, they give you different file types, whatever you want. So most of the time, I actually do a JPEG, and then it'll give me the max resolution available, and then you can pick what kind of projection you want. Just go ahead and hit export, and then it'll have to process that, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a PDF as well, because sometimes it's easier for them to know or send it off, or however you want to do that. So it's going to process, and then it's going to send me an email again, probably in an hour or so. It just depends. The processing for the exports takes a lot less time, but it could actually be less than that. But the thing with that is if you're in a time crunch, it's kind of not as fun. So so I'm going to take that, and I am going to send it to my client, and then basically that project is done. So that was kind of one of the things I had to do today, and I had a little bit of time to do it. But you know, for the most part, I think it's pretty well finished. I'll send it off to him. If he has any questions or wants to know measurements or anything like that, I can sit down and talk with him, you know, that type of thing. But for the most part, it's pretty well done, and there's a map for him. And of course, those videos that I took as well. So yeah, it's that's just kind of an introduction to drone deploy. If you've never used it, go out. I think they still have a free trial. I remember when they came out a while back. They did some interesting stuff, but it's a very interesting program, very easy to use, walkthrough type of deal, and I think it's designed to be that way. So. Basically, as a pilot, we can go out there and fly and do the measurements or do the layout, and then kind of let the surveyors and those kind of guys do the measurements, and basically whoever needs it. So yeah, basically that's all I have. Anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. If you found this video super helpful or not super helpful, let me know. I'm still new to this whole recording yourself and then going out and doing this type of thing. I'd really like to show you some of the cool stuff I get to do. But yeah, if it helps, hit that subscribe button. Also, I showed you guys some of the fire footage. If you guys would like more of that, let me know. I just put in a little snippet because I have like a whole documentation of that day when it burned. So yeah, so I will see you guys later.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon.